been working with the doctors, trying to get my diet to where I'm not bloated so much, and I'm digging it, man. So as it turns out, old boy is gluten intolerant. I used to make fun of people like that. Gluten-free, are you kidding me? At the age of 50, turns out I'm gluten intolerant. It's not like celiac disease, but basically I've cut gluten out of my diet, most of the sugar, and as a result, I'm also taking this supplement. It's L-glutamine. So 5 milligrams of L-glutamine every day. I mix it with my coffee, and it's repairing the stomach lining. It got me on some weird supplements. What did I want to talk about today? Supplements. Everything I take, including So I've been working with a company here in Vegas, and they run a male clinic, and they have a vitamin supplement line, and it's a innovative science nutrition. Now, I don't make a dime from these people, nothing. This right here is something I take. It's specifically for organ protection. So when you're on PEDs, we'll say, the number one thing that kills men is high blood pressure. So one thing I do every day is I monitor my blood pressure. I got a little blood pressure monitor I take a couple times a day, and I try to make sure that I'm under 120/70. That's like the target. I'm 50 years old. That's pretty good. This has something specifically called TUDCA in it, but it's basically it's a vitamin that helps to counteract the oxidative issues with taking PEDs. This right here is something that you can get at GNC. Well, I don't know about GNC, but there's a place called the Vitamin Shop here in Vegas. It's Healthy Gut, and this specifically has L-glutamine in it, and a bunch of other stuff. Basically helps rebuild the gut lining. I also take probiotics. So I've been seeing a doctor gets CT scan, colonoscopy, all that. You guys know I suffer from severe bloating to where I look like I'm pregnant. And I've been working really hard to get that under control. And it's still an issue, man. I'm telling you, I do all this stuff, I'm ripped. I got Jesus abs. I still have that split, as you can see, like, even though I'm not bloated right now, I still got that split right here. But I don't look like a puffer fish, I don't look like I'm pregnant. I got that under control. I still have to get the split in my abs figured out, and we don't know. I mean, it wouldn't be technically a hernia because there is still the connective tissues there. It's just stretched out. So they're probably I don't know when I'm gonna get that addressed or what the best course of action is gonna be, because if I get to cutting on my stomach and they sew that together, that's going to put me out of the sport of lifting, and I won't be able to box for it. I mean, it's going to pretty much take me, that's your core you're cutting into, so there's I would imagine a few months of healing time associated with that. This stuff works great for bloating. I am telling you right now, and it doesn't have to be this brand. There's a ton of different brands. L-glutamine, that is specifically the supplement. This stuff is just a milk thistle. That's for your liver. It's got TUDCA. That's for your liver. It's got turmeric. That's for inflammation. It's just got a bunch. NAC. It's just got a bunch of. Basically, it's just a multivitamin, but it helps counter, the oxidative stress that you get from PED use. Now, so in this episode, I'm telling you guys everything I'm taking. So this is a test mix. And it's got Nandro and DHB. It's a mix of all the testosterone, like Sustanon, and then a Nandro and DHB for a total of 900 milligrams per milliliter. And I take half a cc of this every week, and I'm running on that. DHB is awesome. It's replaced everything I'm taking. I love it. If they call it the old man mix. Now, I'm a firm believer in longevity, like trying to basically take I've always been a lowest efficacious amount. Only take what you need. And that's all I've ever done for any show. And now, whatever the lowest efficacious amount is could still be a significant amount for some people. That doesn't, you basically want to take the amount that you're not going to get anything out of it. Why are you taking it? So that could still be a dangerous amount. For me, I seem to respond really well. The first time I ever took anything was at the age of almost 40, between 45 and 46. I've said this many times. That's when I went on testosterone replacement therapy. Now, I loved the results I got out of that. I think I immediately put on like 8 pounds of muscle mass, but then that kind of just stopped. So I bumped that up, and I got more out of it, and then bumped that up, and I got more out of it. Well, then I started getting side effects, acne, high blood pressure. Oh, well, that's not good. Bump that back down again, not getting any results out of it. So then that's when I started tinkering around with other things. I found Masterone to be really, really useful, and I found that I could take a small amount of Masterone with a small amount of test together to kind of replace testosterone replacement therapy, and that worked really good. But I started having side effects with that. High blood pressure, hypertension was an issue, things like that. When I was competing, 13 weeks out, I would start taking stuff like Anadrol. I found that to be, I was experimenting. I found that to be too much. You don't want to take stuff like that for that long. So I kind of cut that down to 8 weeks. Now, how much? Well, I was taking the lowest amount you could take, which is like 50 milligrams. That's the lowest the pill comes in. As I got closer to the show, I would bump that up. I think on competition, I took like 150 milligrams. Some people said that, wow, that's a lot. Some other people said, heck, that's less than I take daily. I was talking to guys that were taking 600 milligrams a day of this stuff. To me, that's crazy. I don't know. It's going to be different for everybody. But one thing I firmly believe in is if you're working with a doctor, somebody you can be honest with, and you're monitoring your blood pressure and your blood work, and you're getting all that done, I think that you can do this stuff safely. Here's the thing. I get a lot of guys that criticize me, like, oh, you're cheating, you're doing all this, steroids, whatever. Look, I'm 50 years old, and I'm still doing what I love. And I think that I'm way healthier now than I was before, honestly. I wasn't monitoring my health. I wasn't monitoring my diet. And as I've gotten older, I think I've gotten healthier. Like I wasn't doing any cardio before. Now I'm doing about an hour cardio a day, plus I'm boxing 3 days a week. Walking, things are better now than they were before. I've got my diet dialed in. Depression and anxiety are getting better. I feel like, generally speaking, I'm moving in a direction where I'm finding a mix that's sustainable, something that I can do. And, things are subject to change. That's one thing I'm learning is as I'm getting older, things just change. Like, I've never had food insensitivities, ever. I went to the doctor, and he said, you know what, every 7 years, roughly, we just change. It's not uncommon for you to become allergic to things you were never allergic to. It's not uncommon for you to become insensitive, or basically insensitive to things you weren't insensitive to. Like he said, anytime that we go on things like antibiotics, you get an infection, you take antibiotics. It kills all the flora in your gut. Basically, it's antibiotics. And from there, your entire system can change. And that's actually something that a lot of us experienced, especially when we went into this lockdown season. There's lots of people, like, before they even identified it as COVID, there was people that were coming down. I had the flu for 3 months. And I went to the VA, and they gave me basically a Z-Pack, antibiotics, and a bunch of other stuff. And that's when I had started having issues with my gut. I noticed I've always had bloating issues, but they were never as bad as it was before then. That's when it started getting out of control. I went in there, I had to have everything done. I had to basically take a fecal matter test, where you shit in a bucket and you take scoops out of it and put it in little vials, and then they test it for parasites and they test it for all sorts of stuff. And yeah, they basically said I eradicated my gut flora, so I had to start over. Started taking probiotics. I had to do an elimination diet where I said cut everything out, and then from there you start adding things in. Fasting really helps. I was doing really good with fasting. I would do like a 3-day fast. Never felt better in my life. And then I was doing intermittent fasting. Things like my cholesterol levels went down. Just doing fasting will drop your cholesterol levels. Like if you have a cholesterol issue, fasting really, really helps with that. But, you know, I wasn't being very strict with it. You know, I do it for a couple days and then go binge eat again. I can't do that anymore. You know, I've really had to get rid of all the... man, I went on this trip for 2 weeks, and the first day there, everything was closed except for a McDonald's. I hadn't eaten McDonald's in so long. So I went across the street and I bought 4 cheeseburgers, just regular cheeseburgers, extra pickles, extra onions, just like I remembered. It didn't taste like I remembered, first of all. I don't know what they've done to their recipe, but it did not taste like I remember. And I was sicker than I can ever remember for the next 2 days. First I was constipated, so then I took some medicine to counter that, and then I was on the toilet, and so it went from one extreme to the other, and it was just terrible. So you know, I can't eat that stuff anymore. I've become really insensitive to a bunch of things. Well, now, you know, I've got chickens. I'm eating farm fresh eggs every day. You know, I can still eat most of the things I love, but I got to cut breads out. I've been eating sourdough bread. There you go. Solved. You got to be real sourdough, though. You can't buy that fake crap. You got to spend the extra money. So, you know, I got to watch my diet. You know, on top of that, but the big thing is the thing that, I mean, nobody cares about what my diet is. Nobody cares about what vitamins and supplements I'm taking. The things I get criticism on is PED use. And, you know, that's the thing that the people want me to talk about. So I'm going to talk about it. I want to start by saying I'm totally against the use of PEDs. I know that sounds like you take them. How are you against them? Okay, I'm against the way most people take them. These kids that just start working out, you got like, you know, you see these like the Trend twins, or who's that other guy? The real young kid that's yoked. What's his name? Anyway, I don't know the names, but you know, Sam Sulik. Nothing against him at all. Like, but I think that it gives people the wrong idea. Like, I don't want to. I hate to see young kids who haven't even really reached any kind of potential give up and go for the instant gratification and just start taking PEDs. And I understand people have their opinions, and they look at me and they think, well, this guy just looks like he does because he took steroids. And I've been training for a long time, and I was, you know, the first time I ever took anything was at the age of 45, and I was already competing for powerlifting for the better part of a decade. And I had national records, I had state records. You know, I was at the top of my weight class for the tested division, and I competed in the untested division, and I was winning first place in all those too. As a matter of fact, the 2 nationals I competed at were both untested, and I placed second in both of those. So, you know, I had a nice base to begin with. I was at 220 pounds, same weight class as I am now. You know, at the age of 45, I just started losing my drive. I was feeling depressed. I lost interest in my wife. There was just a lot of stuff that was going on, and I didn't know what it was related to. And someone suggested get your blood work done, and what do you know? I had low testosterone. Doc told me, man, it's not unnormal. It's not unusual for a guy your age to suffer from hypogonadism as the diagnosis. Now, I swung the pendulum the other way, and I loved it. I mean, it was just like I felt like I was 20 again, and I did. I got carried away, and I started having some health issues as a result. And did it contribute to the gut issues I'm having? Who knows? You know, I never tried anything like insulin or HGH. Never did that. I really never did much stuff. The strongest thing I ever tried was Trend for a couple of weeks, and loved it. It immediately felt stronger, but the side effects just were not something that I was willing to put up with. Like, I was getting fits of rage, and while I didn't have any outbursts, I noticed that I was like really overly emotional, and I couldn't sleep, and I was sweating, and there was just a bunch of stuff, and I was like, no, this is no bueno. But I found I responded really well to Anadrol and Anavar. Anavar worked really well for me. That's something women take. So, that's usually what I take when I compete, is on top of what I normally take, I add Anadrol for about 8 weeks, and I've gotten pretty good results from that. And I don't take it in between competitions. In between competitions, I'm on half a cc a week of this stuff, and that's all blood work dependent. So if I start having things like acne or side effects to get my blood work done, if my numbers are above like 1,500, 12 to 1,500, I back that off. If they go below 1,000, I add a little more. I try to live in that upper 1,000, 1,200 range. And on top of monitoring my blood pressure every day to make sure that that's good, and on top of getting normal blood work done to make sure that I'm not impacting my organs, working with a doctor, I do think that you can do this stuff safely. And if it brings your quality of life back, if you're an older guy like me, and you're working out and you're just having a rough go at it, or you're coming back from injuries, that's another thing, is it's great for healing injuries. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you at least consider it? I think there's a good use case for it, especially for older guys. What I am against is abuse of anything. Especially if you're not going to monitor your health, you're just going to turn yourself into a science project. Man, when we were all young, I'm glad I never tried it when I was younger. Are you kidding me? There's no way I'd be alive now, especially with the way I used to use drugs and alcohol. Are you kidding me? No. But if you guys are going to mess around with this stuff, like, do some research. Like, I don't know a lot about steroids. I don't. There's SARMs. There's a bunch of stuff I don't know about. All the stuff that I'm lucky that I have good people that I work with that are knowledgeable, and they've helped me out and give me direction. I've never tried HGH or human growth hormone because I don't have the money for it. It's super expensive. I mean, these guys that are like, if I had $1 for every time somebody told me that my bloating was a result of abusing insulin and HGH, I'm like, okay, I've never tried that. And it's not because I'm against it, or I think I'm above it, or I'm better than. It's because I can't afford it, and I don't know anything about it. My protocol is so stupid simple. If people think I'm on a ton of gear, and I'm really not. I'm on hardly anything by most people's standards. And I don't really care if you believe me or not. I respond well to it. But what if I didn't? Would I take more? Probably. As long as my other health metrics are in line, I'm not against doing anything. But what I'm trying to harp on is, if you're going to try anything, try to do it under the direction of somebody who's knowledgeable, preferably a doctor. The issue is you're not going to find a doctor that's going to give you a protocol for something that they can't take legal liability for. They're not going to tell you to do something anything that they can be liable for. In this country, there's so much money that's made. We have an economy that's centered around litigation. I mean, you see it every auto accident you get into. In a wreck, need a check. Used to be back in the day, I would get in a car accident, I would give you my insurance, you give me yours, we get our cars fixed, we move on, or marry. Now, first thing everybody does is call a lawyer, and they get the maximum amount, and they wonder why our automobile, our auto insurance rates are through the roof. That's why. Same with doctors. Everybody's sue happy, so it's hard to get a doctor to say, yes, you can safely do this or that. But if you can get someone to work with you off the books, like, hey, just what's your opinion on something, I think it's super important. Or at least find somebody. There's a couple of YouTube channels that are really good. Vigorous Steve's a good one. More Plates, More Dates, Derek's a good one. There's some good information out there. You can do a ton of research, go online, start reading. I would read the health journals. So for every article that you find in, like, Stacked or Muscle or whatever, you're going to find all these articles that tell you what the drugs are going to be good for, what they will help you with. But what you really want to dig into is what are the side effects, what's the negatives, what's the, what are, if any, long-term studies. So, always research the good and the bad. But if you can do that, and you can find somebody that you can work with, I don't think there's an issue with it. As a matter of fact, I think it can really improve the quality of life for a lot of people. And we got this weird culture where it's all or nothing. People are like, I'm not advocating for anything. What I'm advocating for is you doing what's right for you. And if you're one of those guys, if you're in, my age, 50, 55, 60, and you're 100% natural, and you're still going strong, and you're still kicking ass and taking names, and everything's still working like it's supposed to, that's awesome. I'm so happy for you. But if you're like a lot of us, and you start going down that hill, there is no shame in getting a little help from modern medicine, and don't let anybody shame you. Don't let anybody tell you you're cheating. Cheating at what? We're all just trying to live our best lives. You know what I mean? And if you're going to let the opinion of some shithead on YouTube that probably doesn't even lift tell you that your stuff doesn't count because you have a little help from modern medicine. We're all past our prime, baby. None of us are going to the Olympics. None of us are going to get paid or endorsed for any of this stuff. Well, I might actually have a couple of endorsements, but you know what I mean? Like, it's a young man's game. Nobody wants to see a bunch of old dudes. So do what's right for you. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, I'm here to help. If you guys have any questions or want to talk about anything, I'm an open book. I'll tell you anything you want to know. I'll tell you the craziest stuff I've done. I'll tell you how it worked. I'll tell you the issues I have. You ask, I'm here for you. And I can say right now, this stuff's working really, really good. DHB, as far as I can tell, has a lot of the same benefits that Trenbolone has without the side effects. And you guys should really look into this stuff. I'm on a minimum amount, and I'm still making gains. I'm really digging this stuff, and I was just recently turned on to it. So, do research. I didn't know what this stuff was a month ago or 2 months ago. And Masterone, I don't know. There's a lot of people that have good results. Primobolan, it's similar stuff. Like, all the things that are really mild that have low side effects also don't really help a lot. DHB's been kicking butt. I'm really digging it, and I'm surprised I never heard about it. With a guy that I'm working with said that it used to be really popular, but there was people that had issues with the injection sites and said they couldn't tolerate the pain. It was really hard to inject. Well, now they've got it to where you can do it with insulin syringes, and it's super easy and it's no issues. So, and it's kind of making a comeback because of that. So, hey, anything you guys want to know, you just talk to Uncle Chuck, and I'll tell you. It's going to be anecdotal because it's just based on my personal experience, but I'll tell you how it's worked for me. That's the least I can do. I'll give you all the problems I run into, and I'll give you all the solutions that I'm working with. My training, I train almost every day. Almost every day of the week, I'm in here tinkering with the weights. But realistically, you only need about 3 days of heavy training a week. And then I do 3 days of boxing. So where I go to a gym and I physically box for about an hour, at least, no more than 2 hours. And so you got 3 days of lifting, 3 days of cardio. Every day I try to do some kind of cardio and some kind of lifting. And mostly that's just because I've got everything in the garage. If I didn't have my own setup, would I be hitting it every day? Yeah, because before I had all that stuff, I was going to the gym at least 4 times a week. So I'm one of those guys that I just like to work out, but you might be somebody that doesn't. And if you're not, you don't have to do it every day. You can get away with 3 days a week. I think cardio is super important. I didn't used to do cardio. I didn't think that it was necessary, but it's great for maintaining blood pressure. And that's really the big thing, is like you want to try to keep blood pressure is the thing that kills your organs. It's the thing that gives suffer. You know, blood pressure and cholesterol. Those are the other thing is it'll also increase your red blood cell count. So a couple times a year you want to also donate blood. That contributes to high blood pressure. There's a lot of things to consider, but if you're, you know, doing what you're supposed to do and you're working with a health professional or someone that's knowledgeable, like I've said, you can mitigate most of that stuff, and I don't really see an issue. I think that I'm healthier now than I was before when I wasn't paying attention to any of this stuff. You know, I don't know. You guys tell me. Tell me what you think. I'd love to hear your insights, your struggles, or your successes. You know, what's your experience? And if you're one of the sanctimonious noble natties, you know, hey, your opinions are welcome too. I might not agree with you, but I'd still love to hear from you. We're all just brothers in iron, you know what I mean? Well, let me know what you think. I love you guys. See you on the battlefield.